The world faced the largest ever cyber attack over the past few days. Hundreds of thousands fell victim to the WannaCry, and I think this ransomware actually does make you want to cry.
Scary stuff.
It is the ransomware that encrypts the data on your computer until you pay a ransom. Candace and Mark. Oh, I knew I was going to do this. Pariah. All right.
Not pariah.
Yes, Pariah.
Pariah.
Founders of Ares are in the studio to talk about the latest cyber attack as well as protecting your children from the harmful side of the internet. Later in the show, Dennis Lindahl will be letting us know about this year's drone camp for kids in Tioga.
Cool.
It's cool that's going on in Tioga, North Dakota. Drone camp for kids.
Yeah, and kids are really getting into that stuff. You're telling me about your one grandchild?
Yeah. Absolutely loves it. So at the control panel, of course, producer extraordinaire Jim Walsh.
Hello.
So nice Mother's Day weekend?
Yeah, kind of low-key. We didn't do much. My wife's a little under the weather. She's going in. She's having some dental surgery over at the face and jaw place later this week. So we didn't do too much. I made her my version of Eggs Benedict for Mother's Day.
I seen this on social media. You call it Naked Eggs Benedict.
Well, basically, it's Eggs Benedict without the hollandaise because I didn't have the stuff for the hollandaise. So I just basically gave her 2 poached. This is what I have for breakfast several times a week: 2 poached eggs on buttered toast.
So you're a master at making poached eggs, then? Or?
Yeah, I'm a poaching son of a gun.
Do you have like some technology that allows you to make great poached eggs?
Well, I have the microwave, and I have this poacher thing, this little plastic thing. You put the eggs in. Some people put them in water. I just put the eggs in these poacher things. I put 3 eggs in, and I set for like 1 minute and 22 seconds. Comes out perfect. It's just a little bit soft, so when you put them on the toast, they're just a little bit runny. And that's perfect for me.
We're going to call the show the Recipe Ranch in the
future.
Yes.
Oh, yes, definitely.
I got a
recipe for brains and eggs.
Of course, the tech geezer has to join us occasionally.
Thank you, Geese.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I had a pretty nice weekend, too. I hurt myself playing golf.
Oh, no.
And it wasn't because somebody hit me with a ball either. I'm just getting old and feeble, I guess. So
nobody yelled for?
Nobody yelled for. But I actually after I hurt my back, I actually had the best game of golf I've ever had.
Okay.
And the other guys were like, what is up with you here? I wasn't trying to overpower the ball or something. Just
I shoot in the low 80s.
Really?
If it gets any warmer, I don't play.
We need one of those little sound effect things. There you go. Yeah, there you go. Anyway,
there's Mr. No.
Enough of our weekend. We want to get right into a very, very important topic today: the WannaCry ransomware.
Yeah.
And actually, Candace and Mark were actually coming in to talk about their product, but because they're here, I thought it'd be nice to kind of have you guys come in. So thanks for being on the Tech Ranch, you two.
Yes.
Thanks for having us.
You bet. So anyway, get a little closer to the mic when you talk, of course, or we'll swing a couple over your way. There we go. We got these great little swinging mics in the studio here. So first of all, explain to us maybe what ransomware is. Either one of you can take this question.
Sure. So ransomware, an attacker comes in, takes control over your computer by some mechanism, and then it encrypts all your data. And once it's encrypted, they do a great job of decrypting it as long as you pay them.
Okay.
So it's a great business model for a very unscrupulous person, and they always deliver your data back to you if you pay them. So they're very good about that. But unfortunately, if you get in that scenario that all your data is encrypted, the only way to get it out is almost always to cough up the cash.
So I will take issue with that one statement because I've actually seen, and in fact, I fell victim to one myself. And I've had a lot of people come to our computer shop and they've paid the ransom and they still don't get the encryption code. So I think on the lower end, a lot of times they'll just take your money and run. It's the higher end game that they almost always will give you the encryption code. So they want the banks, they want the hospitals, they want the bigger, because these institutions are willing to pay tens of thousands of dollars. Right. And of course, a bank president won't tell their customer base that they've been encrypted, but they'll let the other bank presidents know that, yeah, I paid the $100,000 and they gave me the encryption code. So there's kind of two scenarios that go to work here. And like I said, I fell victim to one a couple months ago myself, and somebody was sending me an email that I've trusted clicked on the link. We were actually doing work back and forth together, and bang, And I actually caught it before I got the ransomware screen to come up. I actually just unplugged my computer, which is our general practice. If you think something's weird, just unplug it. And but it already had encrypted pretty much. It
happens so fast.
So fast. I had a hard drive. I have a clone backup. So if something goes wrong with my regular hard drive, I can just go right to my clone, and I'm ready to go. Then I have an external backup. Took them all out, every one of them. So
yeah, they've gotten smarter over the years, so that now they want to hit all of your data sources, including those of your backups and your cloud storage and all the rest of it too. So you've heard instances of people actually having cloud storage being encrypted? I know that that's where the attackers are going. I haven't seen firsthand whether that occurs or not.
Because that would be, to me, is kind of the savior right now is that cloud storage. So Candace, have you two actually experienced any type of ransomware yourself, or any friends or anybody that you've worked with?
I think when we worked at internet service provider, we had heard about people within the company getting ransomware attacks. I myself haven't experienced it. I did just see a video put out by Cisco, which is really good, about how sophisticated the hackers are becoming. They do their research, and if they're targeting a specific company, they make the email look exactly like it's coming from that company, down to the letterhead, to the signature, and then they make it look like something that's very similar to what you would get working with that person or that company. And it's very easy to fall victim to one.
So one of the tricks that I do when I get an email, almost all the time, and now I do it all the time after this last instance for me, is that I'll hover over the link, and in the bottom, I use Thunderbird, so on the bottom left-hand side there, it actually shows me where that link is going to. Yeah. So if it's coming from like PayPal, for example, or a friend or whatever, I'll hover over that, and if it's taking me to some other place other than PayPal, or maybe it's PayPal, you got to really look at where it's going.
You got to be really careful about that.
Because they'll send you something that's really close too, but if you look real close, you'll probably determine right away that it's not legitimate, and you can not click on it. But it's unfortunate we live in this era where, even people that we normally would trust and that we do business through email, you can't do that anymore. You just it's really, really difficult. So it's very, very frustrating. So this attack really went after, I think you were talking about Windows XP machines earlier. So if you have Windows XP, you're kind of toast.
So Microsoft stopped supporting new features on that operating system years ago.
Yes.
So you can see that definitely it's a vulnerable, available spot for attackers to target. And they actually stated that even up to Windows 10, if you haven't updated your machine since before March, you were vulnerable to this attack. So, if you're operating something Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10, get your updates going right now, people, because you will be vulnerable to this attack if you don't. So after the break, everybody, we'll continue our conversation with Mark and Candace and their newest invention, Aries. You want to hear about this, so come on back.
Right now, it's 63.
The Red River Farm Network. Ag News is here on Super Talk 1270.
Follow the Guru of Geek at Facebook.com/The Tech Ranch or Twitter at Guru of Geek or thetechranch.com. Here again is your Guru of Geek, Marlo Anderson.
And we want to thank everybody who follows us on the Blueberry Network, on the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. Trying to think their slogan. Of course, we are also on the Roku, iTunes, Tuned In, and our own app, Radio Pup. So all kinds of places that you can join us if you want to join us live or listen to a rerun later. In studio, of course, we have the producer extraordinaire, Jim Walsh, joined also by Candace and Mark. Perea. Yep. I'm thinking parade now. I got that in my head. Perea. Founders of Aries.
They make cat food.
They do. They make cat food. And we were just talking about the ransomware that's been kind of going out there. And just a reminder, everybody, just update your machines and be careful when you're going through email, and you should be okay. But the best thing you can do right now, update your machines, make sure your virus protection is up to date, and don't get tempted to click on anything, right?
Right.
I mean, that would be the and even these pop-ups. I mean, these pop-ups look so good too. You go to a website and a thing pops up and it says, you need to download this or download that to see the website correctly. I mean, those things are all usually nefarious, I guess is the best way to say it. So just be careful. That's right. So, the reason that you're here is to talk about Aries. So I want to know a lot about this product. And first of all, I love the fact that you're in North Dakota and you're developing technology that, is, I don't know, I'm trying to think of the best way to say it, but, you see a lot of technology being developed over in the eastern part of the state. The western part of the state of North Dakota is energy and ag, right? So you don't see a lot of technology emerging that is not in those sectors. So I love the fact that this is going on here in North Dakota. And for those of you around the world, North Dakota is part of the United States, and we don't have Mount Rushmore here. Just want to remind everybody of that. So tell us a little bit about Aries.
Yeah, so we are excited to be developing this in North Dakota. I think they call it the Silicon Prairie down in Omaha, and so we need to be kind of part of that movement. And so back to what is Aries. So we developed a smart self-tuning router that addresses parental controls, device management, and security, since we're talking about security today, for the average home user.
Okay. And so I think the parental control is something that everybody's very, very interested in. I mean, it's nice to have a great router that does great things, right? But to me, I'm always concerned when my kids go on my devices, on my computer or whatever. So can you address that a little bit more, Mark?
Sure thing. So, let me back up just for a moment and share a little bit of a story. So, 2 years ago, I woke up in the middle of the night. It was 3 o'clock in the morning, and I could see the glow of a monitor, and I could hear the clicking of the keyboard. And I go down my stairway, and I find my son. He's 9 years old, 8 years old at the time. He was playing online video games, and it's 3 o'clock in the morning. It's a school night. And that was our aha moment where we said, hey, we need to do something to take care of this. And we've got Windows machines, Mac machines, iOS, Android. We really have to solve this problem for everything in a single swoop. And so that's where Aries got started, was that parental controls feature of being able to shut the stuff off in the middle of the night so that kids aren't gaming in the middle of the night watching YouTube.
So are you able to, let's say for you and I, able to keep our devices on, but yet turn the internet off to all these other devices?
That is absolutely the case. Okay. And the way that we started the company was really to make technology simple for the end user. So we've got the control panel is an app for your smartphone, and you go in, you define the users that are in your household. It automatically detects your devices, and then you just assign those devices to the users. Okay. And then you set out, hey, this kid's bedtime is 8 p.m. Well, at 8 p.m., all that stuff shuts off. It's not allowed to go online anymore.
That's cool. That's cool. And that's all devices. So even like a Roku or anything like that, you can turn those off as well.
Yeah, anything that's assigned to that user is going to be applied to them. Okay. So you can pause their stuff if you want to just, hey, take a break for now. That pause button is there, and it applies to, intelligently only to the devices of that user. Or there's a global pause button so that you can pause the whole house all at once when you really need to get attention.
Mm-hmm.
So is this... Oh, go ahead, Candace.
Our users say the pause button should be called the dinner time button.
Oh,
because,
yeah.
At dinner time when you're trying to get everybody to the table, you hit the pause button, and all of a sudden you see the little faces pop up from their devices saying, hey, what's up?
So speaking of that then, that just leads me right into the question I was going to have. So is this a web-based app type of scenario where you can just go on any device and you have control as a parent in that household? So if I'm on my smartphone, I can turn all the devices off, mm-hmm. or is that how that works?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, sometimes we're sitting as a family watching TV, and if I decide to check email on my phone, Mark will pull the app up on his phone.
She's lying. Pause. It's not email. It's Facebook. She's checking her feed.
But yeah, no, it's a cloud-based software.
Okay.
Then you can put it on your computer, your smartphone, your tablet. We are in the process of trying to get native apps built so that you would have the native app for iOS and Android as well.
Okay, very cool. So tell me about like websites that you don't want your children to go to. I mean, do you have something in place for that?
Yeah, so we've got content filter servers that are running. That's DNS based for anybody who is technical and wants to know a little bit about the internals. So when your device tries to go to a website, it's going to do what's called a DNS lookup, and it wants to resolve that domain name, like playboy.com, for example, and turn that into an IP number so that the browser can go to that server and ask for the content. We intercept that traffic if you have set the child filter to be on for that user, and then we check on whether we believe that that's a safe site or not.
Okay. And I want to bring this up a couple times, I guess, but where do people get a hold of the Aries? I mean, where can they purchase it right now?
So we have it available on our website, and we also have it available on Amazon.
Okay, and your website is?
I think.
Aries.net, AEREZ.net.
Okay. And Amazon, and then just go to AREEZ and do a search, and you're there as well?
Correct.
Okay, very cool. So yeah. I always silence my phone beforehand, and this is the only time in many years that I haven't, and here's ringing. Everybody should know in the world right now that I'm on the air, so, right? And this person especially should know that I'm on the air. So anything else about Aries that maybe is unique in the space that you're in?
I'll go ahead. Yeah,
okay.
So, Aries really started off as a parental controls thing that we shared with other families who needed to get that control and have that pause button and shut the stuff off at nighttime and get, protect the kids from the bad stuff. But as we shared this and went through our beta testing, users again and again told us, my internet gets slow. Sometimes it's fast, sometimes it's slow. I don't know what to do about it. Aries already has helped so that I don't have to reboot the router every day or every week or whatever. And now that's great. But help me out. Make it so it's not slow, or tell me why. And so that was the next problem we tackled. So we developed an algorithm that we patented, and it periodically, automatically in the background is measuring your connection speed. It knows how many devices it's got attached to it. It knows how many users are on your network. So it runs a formula and says, here's the best settings for your particular environment. And so what that does for you is that, as an example, we were at a MagicCon 2 weeks ago in the Comic-Con of Minot, and we pitched this to gamers and said, your gaming experience will be improved. And as part of the preparation for that, we just played some games with a video stream running on an adjacent computer. So one computer's gaming, the other one's doing a 4K video stream. And I was able to introduce these roller coasters of lag spikes, is what the gamers will call that. And it's just an interruption of your stream of traffic that happens when you're not using Aries. When you're using Aries, it's just a solid, smooth connection that you don't even know anybody else is doing anything. And so what we're doing is that Aries is the traffic cop for your network. Those devices don't know that anything else is there, but Aries knows everything is there. So he's just sitting in the middle, making sure everybody plays nice.
Interesting. And is this both available over wired and wireless networks? So you have that. I guess the best way I could describe what you're talking about is like conditioned power. You have an uninterruptible power supply sitting underneath your desk, and you always have that same amount of power coming through it, even though the electricity that comes into it on the other side spikes all the time and drops back down. You always have the same thing. Is this kind of what Aries does?
In a sense, that's a good way to describe it. Did you want to jump in at all?
No, I was just
I've been hogging the mic a little bit here.
So part of our process is that as a user, you go in and you create priority types. So if you as an adult are working from home, you want your laptop to have priority.
Okay.
So there's a little bit more to it than that. Part of the algorithm takes into account the user type. And so the user type is, high, medium, low, or none. So if you haven't assigned a device to a user, it gets lowest priority.
Okay.
But if you work from home, like she said, and you say, hey, I'm the highest priority, so all of my devices get higher quality of service over everything else too.
All right, we'll continue this conversation in a little bit. Right next is Dennis Lindahl. We'll be talking about the drone camp for kids. Come on back.
Right now, it's 63.
Here's Sean Hannity, weekday afternoons on Super Talk 1270.
We're back to the Tech Ranch. Stream this program now at supertalk1270.com. Here is your guru of geek, Marlo Anderson.
And welcome back, everybody. Dennis is not with us at this time, so we'll just continue our conversation with Mark and Candace here. And so let me know a little bit more about maybe some of the stories you've heard. I know you were, going to one that you talked about at MagicCon a couple weeks ago, but have you had any parents contact you about what this has done to their lives?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a good story. One of our very first trial users was a friend of mine, and she had put Aries in place and just recently had grounded her daughter and had taken her iPod away. And, I was asking her to do some testing on Aries and get into the app and take a look. And she's like, I don't know what this device is. Help me find out what this device is. And she could see it online. Well, it turns out her grounded daughter had brought home an iPod from a friend that she was using. She had no idea that it was being connected to the Wi-Fi and being used until she got online and saw in the app that there was a device on there. So even just bringing that awareness to parents is really seems to be empowering, that they know which device is connected and which kid is using that device.
Sure. Go ahead.
Oh, so we've got a notifications engine too, so that what enabled that to happen is that when a new device comes on your network, excuse me, or another important event is occurring, like maybe your service provider connection just went down. We're notifying you if you've enabled that stuff to be turned on in the app. So that's what enables you to know when a new device is on the network.
Right.
That's what she saw.
Right, right. So does the Aries have a guest network capability as well?
Sure does.
Okay.
Yep.
And are you able to do the same thing on the guest network as you are on your regular network? As far as turning devices on and off and parental protection and that type of thing.
Right. So the guest network's a little bit more sheltered, I guess. By default, we filter everything on the guest network by default. That guest network is going to be put down to the lowest priority.
Okay.
But absolutely, it's there. It's got its own SSID and password for naming and protecting it. It also allows you to totally forgot where I was going here for a second. What's awesome about it is that unlike some of the other solutions that just create another, what they call a beacon, it's just another name for a network to join the same network. This is actually a separate firewalled, isolated network. So stuff that's on this guest network isn't actually able to attack your home network.
Right.
Which is nice from our perspective, that it's protected and isolated.
The reason I'm bringing this up is that a lot of businesses like to have a guest network for their clients when they come in or whatever during business hours. I'll pick on coffee shops and even our shop with the computer shop over there, right? So, but we also have a lot of people who live around us, and if we have our guest network turned on, I can actually tell. When we have people hacking into I can just tell by the speed of our internet in our building that we have other people in the area that are using our stuff. It would be wonderful to just go in and say, you know what, you're not part of our thing. We can just turn you off. I'm just bringing that up. I think a lot of people will be able to use that.
Yeah, and what's great also is that this works from anywhere that you have an internet connection. So in the past, we've had our son grounded from the internet, so he was on pause mode, and we were in Bismarck on a trip, and the babysitter called and said, he's being really good. Can he get the access back? And we just unpaused him right from the grocery store.
See, that's pretty cool. That's very, very cool. So, yeah.
Conversely, you could do the opposite.
Yeah.
Right? Misbehaving. Okay.
And I'm sure that happens a lot more than the others. So, yeah. Very, very interesting. So, how does your router compare in price to other routers of, say, similar capabilities?
So we are exploring a different platform. In the past, when you bought a router, it was a one-time purchase, and that was kind of the end of it, right? And then it was on the user to make sure that router firmware was updated, make sure security was good. So we are doing a software as a service model. So users have a one-time activation fee, and then they have a subscription model.
Okay.
But the awesome thing is that also covers the hardware. So if, 5-6 months down the road, their router just dies for whatever reason, we replace their router at no cost. And we are just continuing to enhance the feature set that we're doing and looking to get more into the security mindset as well. You talked about the ransomware. We already have it that we automatically update the router hardware for the users. So
the router firmware.
Sorry. And so that at least is a less risk for the user. And so we want to continue to kind of focus a little bit more on some of the security aspects that we can help, especially with the Internet of Things coming into homes. You know, your smart fridge is really easy to hack, and so we want to be able to help users be aware of that and hopefully keep them from being at risk.
See, that's very, very interesting, actually, because you're right. There are so many ways. We talk a lot of times about the baby monitors and all this other stuff that are very, very easy to hack, simply because a lot of people never change the default username and password, which I know it seems like it's crazy that people wouldn't do this after all the warnings that we do, but a lot of people just install it and go. They don't think about that there actually is a username and password attached to this thing, right? So you're actually taking a proactive stance on this and allowing some security, you know, that's fantastic. It really is. So how many devices, I mean, is there any limit to the amount of devices that you can attach to an Aries?
Yeah, so right now today there is a limit of like 250.
Okay.
So obviously we're a network device, so there's a reason for that limit that makes sense to people that understand the networking behind the network. And that number is just arbitrary. So we could scale it to be larger, but you know, we'll cover that ground when a user's asking us to get more than 200 devices. We really feel like, other than a business, our typical user has 20 plus devices in their home. So I think with 200, we've got some couple years of growth ahead of us.
I would think so. That's amazing, though, that your typical user already has over 20. I mean, you know, just a couple of years ago, we talked about the Internet of Things, and, you know, right now there's about 5 billion devices in the world attached to the Internet, right? They expect by 2020 that's going to go to 20 billion, and it's not an increase of computers. It's an increase of everything else, from our refrigerators to that Alexa that's sitting next to your...
There's going to be a Wi-Fi controller chip in everything. Your toaster.
Yes, yeah. But, you know, it'll be cool because I can have Mickey Mouse burned onto my toast now, right, in the future, because I'll have that control over that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, TechCrunch is going on right now, so I don't know if you guys keep an eye on that to see kind of the new cool gadgets and stuff coming out there
absolutely.
To the startups. So it's a lot of fun to keep an eye on.
Yeah, but you're right. Everything is going to be connected in the future. You know, your drones are going to be connected. Your car is going to be connected. I mean, all this stuff's going to be connected to your house. So it'll be interesting to see where that plateaus. If 200 or 250 is actually going to be enough. I would still have to think so, because I don't think I have 250 things in my house that's actually plugged in. I mean, they all still have to have power somehow or another, whether it's battery or whatever. So.
And literally, that's a software limitation, so we could adjust that if we needed to.
Right. I see businesses, though. I do see businesses that would exceed that pretty easily. So very interesting. Anything else, you guys, on the Aries and you know, what would be the ultimate app that you're kind of working on within the Aries right now? What's the you know, other than security, do you have something else going on that you thought would be really cool to add to Aries?
We like to say that Aries is what you want to purchase if you want your network to be as smart as the devices that you connect to the network.
Okay.
And, you know, right now our implementation of that smarts is to measure your bandwidth speed and, you know, count your devices, do some math. You know, in the future, we really want that to continue to get smarter and really look at your traffic patterns and not necessarily invading your privacy, just looking at what types of things you do at what times of the day, see what your traffic looks like aggregate, and make suggestions on how to improve your performance through the dashboard of the panel.
Okay.
So adding a little machine learning in there that it can do some analysis on your network traffic and then be able to either do some self-tuning, self-healing on the fly, or give the users advice such as, hey, there's a rogue device on your network that's trying to consume all the bandwidth. You might want to check to see if there's a problem.
Okay, that sounds great. So go ahead.
You know, one of the other things we're working on right now is the device identification. So, you know, a lot of times if you have if you're an Android household, you probably know, if you've looked at all, that your Android devices are named Android dash bunch of stuff. And it's difficult to know what the difference is between them, which one you're applying policy to.
Sure.
And so we're literally working right now on helping our users out by doing what we call fingerprinting and giving you a better guess at, hey, maybe this is like a Samsung Edge 7.
Okay. Or, I mean, are you able to get into the Google account and see what the Google has named the device or anything? I'm just thinking of possibilities how you can,
there's several different methods for deciding.
Okay.
So we take into account what it tells us it is, but then also just IDing it based on some of its traffic.
Yeah.
And then saying, hey, we think that this is iPhone 6s Plus.
Yeah, that's cool. Mm-hmm. That's cool. So again, where do we find the Aries? Go ahead, Candace.
So on our website, aerez.net. We also have availability through the Amazon store, so they can just search Aries at the Amazon store.
And we're on Facebook and Twitter.
All right.
So Facebook is AEREZNet.
Okay.
And Twitter's the same, AEREZNet.
So if you want to take control of the internet in your home or business, everybody, you need to check this out. It's a very, very cool device coming right out of North Dakota. After the break, we'll continue our conversation on ransomware, and hopefully Dennis will get a hold of us shortly. So come on back, everybody.
Right now it's 67.
Dave Ramsey is heard here. Super Talk 1270.
Follow the Guru of Geek everywhere he goes. Post your comments or questions at thetechranch.com. Once again, your Guru of Geek, Marlo Anderson.
All right, Jim, swing a mic back to you there, man.
Oh, okay.
All right. So,
Geezer, get that mic over here. What? The mic, please. Thank you. Okay.
Thanks, Geezer. Hey, so Toyota has just announced that they're going into what business?
Flying cars.
Unbelievable.
Supercars.
So wait, that's a real thing?
It's a real thing.
It's a thing, baby.
It's not something that Marty McFly is flying around in Back to the Future.
Thing.
It's a real thing.
Yeah.
So now we have eHang. That's been, it's the eHang 184, I believe, is the model number of their vehicle.
Okay.
Airbus is coming out with some flying car stuff. So the eHang one is actually being tested right now.
We got to figure the Toyota people, of all people, they would have to be on the cutting edge.
You would
of
have to
something
think
like this.
that,
You would
right?
think that. You would assume that.
So then Airbus a couple of months ago stated that they're developing a flying car that will be available either by the end of this year or early next year. And they have some other platforms too. They have one that they're developing that moves up to 12 people at a time.
Now, who's behind Airbus?
Airbus.
Oh, okay. It's not like Branson or Elon or one of those people.
I'm not sure, actually. I don't think
Elon is working toward those ends.
Oh, absolutely. But Airbus itself, I'm not sure if they have any. They've been around for a long time, and of course, based in Europe. So, and then, of course, Toyota now has stated, and I'm just reading, it's a 3-wheel prototype, measures 9.5 feet by 4 feet, projected top speed of 62 miles an hour. So, and they're actually planning to light the 2020 flame for the 2020 Olympics flame with this car.
Oh,
That'll be
excellent.
sweet.
Excellent.
So, Mark, Candace, what do you guys think of flying cars?
I think it's amazing that they're making more progress on flying cars than autonomous vehicles.
Okay, and why do you think that is? I'm curious what your take is on that.
So, I'm not an avid follower, but I do, check into things from now and then. And, the lawsuits that are happening and the obstruction at the regulatory level that's happening on autonomous vehicles, just as a guy with a background in programming and how computers can do the same steps over and over with complete accuracy. If a crash happens, it's because we got to fix the algorithm. But if a crash doesn't happen, it'll never happen.
Right.
So we could have these autonomous vehicles that drive great, and you would free yourself up to do awesome things while you're wasting your time on the road. And forget about drunk driving and distracted driving.
Yeah.
And yet the holdup is nothing but red tape.
It is. There hasn't been as much red tape to this point as I think we're going to see in the future. I mean, as the industry is kind of emerging, now you're seeing government starting to push back a little bit and just wanting to get a handle on it. It's interesting, I pick on the Uber instance in Phoenix a couple weeks ago where they had an accident. Yep. It wasn't even the autonomous vehicle's accident. I mean, It wasn't their fault.
Right.
They were T-boned. Somebody ran a stop sign and hit them. But Uber pulls the vehicles off the road anyway. And I think the reason for it is that I think they're looking to see if there would have been a way that the autonomous vehicle could have avoided the accident.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't their fault.
Sure.
they're just looking to say, hey, I mean, you know, if this is the ultimate goal of autonomous vehicles is to avoid accidents, then we need to take all of these scenarios into account. You know, so if somebody does run a stop sign at 50 miles an hour, does the vehicle have the sensor capability to notice that this vehicle isn't going to make the stop?
Yeah.
You know, type of thing. Tesla, have you seen some of the Tesla vehicles, you know, when they're in their cruise control? They call it an enhanced cruise is what it is. So they have it and it actually will start to beep a couple seconds before it notices an accident is going to happen.
Right.
Have you seen these videos?
Yeah, well, we've actually got a family member that's got a Tesla.
Okay.
And they're impressive vehicles.
Yes.
And yeah, their cruise control is pretty amazing.
So what happens is that even though your vehicle isn't about to get into an accident, it can actually almost tell the future in a way that these vehicles are going to have an accident. And so you're driving down the road, and there's been some instances where the camera's turned on in the vehicle, and you can see this vehicle coming towards this other one, and all of a sudden the Tesla starts to beep that this is imminent, that this is going to happen. And if the car you're involved in would have been involved in that accident, it would have taken steps to correct itself. I was actually in a Delphi vehicle a year and a half ago and almost had an accident in that. The vehicle in front of us short stopped, and we were in 8 lanes of traffic in Las Vegas, and this vehicle right in front of us, while we're in autonomous mode, just stops. And if it had been you or I, we'd look to the left to see if there was an opening that we could go around this vehicle, and by that time we would have hit the car. I was bracing for impact, actually. The engineer I'm interviewing and doesn't even know this is going on, and the car goes to the right and just goes around it like it was nobody's business. It just did it. Nice. And yeah, I was just amazed. And Serge, the engineer for Delphi, was totally unaware of the entire thing. As I'm, like I said, I actually have my fingernails into the dashboard waiting to hit this car, you know. So there's a lot about autonomous vehicles. They claim that about 90% of all fatalities will be avoided, you know. And I look forward to the day when an auto crash that takes a life actually makes as much news as an airplane crash now, because they're so rare. And I think that's going to happen sometime in the future because of this. So
that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
And the implications for people with disabilities, you know, being able to get transportation, and you know,
there is so much.
Yeah. There
is so much. I mean, you know, and the implications go much farther beyond that. I mean, you know, studies being done right now. I talk about this a lot. I have a talk and you'll hear this at Drone Focus if you go, by the way. Drone Focus, Fargo, May 31st, June 1st if you're not there. Secretary Chow, by the way, our new Secretary of Transportation, will be attending that event. So you want to get your tickets because they're going extremely fast now because she's attending. But anyway, I do this talk on horse manure, and it's about New York City in 1900. And the biggest problem that they were facing at the time was how to get rid of horse manure, because the city had grown by another 1 million people in the last decade. And they're doing this study, and the study comes back and says by 1920, you will have 3 times more horse manure than you have right now, right? So the city ramps up for all of this, right? But they didn't take into account an emerging technology, the horseless carriage.
Right.
And when you look at a picture of Times Square in 1920, you can barely see a horse in the picture, right? There is no horse manure problem anymore in New York City. And I think we're at that same time right now. I mean, if you're in government and you're doing studies about transportation, and you're not taking into account that drones are going to be fetching our pizzas and our prescriptions and our milk,
Yep.
and our autonomous cars are going to be taking us to and from work, you're not going to have, I mean, I think it's about 40% of the time that we spend in our vehicles are going after errands. Mm-hmm. So if you eliminate that, do you eliminate traffic, you know, the whatever you want to call it, traffic jams or whatever in our largest cities? You probably have a huge impact on that. And if you are going to spend billions of dollars on infrastructure right now to prepare for 20 years from now, you're an idiot, in my opinion. How's that for being
Wait a minute. Say that again.
You're an idiot.
No, I mean the part before the whole thing.
Yeah, about if you're not taking into account current or futuristic transportation that's going to be happening, whether it's drones, or autonomous vehicles, whatever, right? So, because right now we hop in a car to go get our pizza. Or
how do you plan ahead for something like that, though?
Well, I mean,
in terms of the infrastructure and all that.
I understand what you're saying, Jim, but I think you have to understand now that this is happening.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's absolutely happening. And if you're not preparing for that, and I just don't see a need right now. If you're in LA or New York or North Dakota and developing, more roads and bridges and all this other stuff, I guarantee you 20 years from now, it's going to be a 20 to 30% less traffic on those roads than there are right now, simply because we're going to be using more air traffic than we are ground traffic. And
the people on the roads will be safer then. There'll be less traffic.
There'll be less traffic.
I mean, it'd be great for those of us who ride motorcycles.
Right. And then you think about, wow, you're really getting me on a tangent here now. But even our houses, right? I mean, I have a 3-stall garage, right? Are we going to need a 3-stall garage in the future? Right. Because we may only need one car, because your car is going to take both of you to and from work and take your kids to and from school, all this other stuff. So you only need one car and maybe a drone. That's what you'll need, right?
I picture George Jetson and his family in that little coupe flying around.
That's exactly right. And you can just send your car to do these things.
And he puts Elroy in a little tiny escape capsule, and he goes off to school, right?
That is exactly right. So, and there's so many things emerging as far as transportation goes right now that I just, let's save our money as a country and put it towards something, maybe improve the roads we currently have. I'm so tired of potholes and everything else. Let's get good roads that we have.
Well, not to get political here on the show, but if our current president, the current administration would make this a priority, it would certainly be a feather in their cap.
I think it would be fantastic to have a national project towards the infrastructure improvements, not expansion, just improvement of what we currently have. So anyway, all right, one last time on the Aries. Where do we find it again, guys?
Sure. So Aries.net is our website, AEREZ.net. And we're on Facebook and Twitter. That's AriesNet, AEREZ.net.
All right. Candace, Mark, thanks for being on the show. Jim,
you.
pleasure as
always.
Always
a pleasure, sir.
Have a great week, everybody.